This is Duke University.
This week on Office Hours. More than 2 years have passed since golf legend Tiger Woods became embroiled in a sex scandal that preoccupied not only sports fans, but millions of other people around the United States. In his new book, The Passion of Tiger Woods, Duke cultural anthropology professor Orin Starn says the scandal has a lot to teach us about American attitudes on race, sexuality, and celebrity. Tiger had become, in his years of great glory and success, this mythic icon of a post-racial America, Starn writes. The sex scandal activated these still very present and pretty horrifying stereotypes about black masculinity. Starn joins us today to take your questions on sex, golf, race, and Tiger Woods.
Hi, I'm David Jarmel, the head of Duke University's Office of News and Communications. Orin Starn, welcome to Office Hours.
Thank you.
And great timing. Tiger Woods, just a few hours ago, finished the first round of his 2012 season. Reportedly shot 70 at a tournament in Abu Dhabi. He'll be back in the States in a few weeks at his first PGA Tour at Pebble Beach. And off we go with another season of Tiger Woods. But you say in your new book that we're going to be talking about today that his significance goes far beyond sports to have all kinds of cultural importance. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think there are certain athletes who come to symbolize a lot of things to Americans, and they become these iconic figures in American culture, the Babe Ruths, the Muhammad Alis, and I think Tiger Woods is in that category, is this transcendent athlete, this amazing golfer who's accomplished things that no other golfer ever has, but also as a cultural icon in America with his own multimedia empire, his video games, his brand, his enormous celebrity in America.
And you write a lot about his celebrity, but also about how that revealed some of the stranger aspects of American culture. You refer to a research motherlode for anyone interested in the bizarre funhouse and horror show of 21st century American life. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think a lot of Americans were, and I count myself among them, were horrified to see how much media attention was paid to the sex life of this famous golfer when the scandal broke a couple of years ago. And why are we seeing these giant headlines about Tiger cheating on wife when there's a war going on in Afghanistan and a whole lot of other more important problems? But the very fact that we in American society seem so obsessed and interested in celebrity scandal is something I think that needs explaining. Why is it that we care so much about the doings, the sex life, the drug abuse, the nasty slurs, the other foolish things that celebrities do? Why do we care so much? We don't know these people in person.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into all of that, which will make for a lively conversation. We invite all of you who are watching to join that conversation by sending us an email at live@duke.edu, by tweeting with the hashtag DukeLive, or on the Duke University Facebook page. Orin, let's take a step back and remember how most Americans viewed Tiger Woods before the scandal. And of course, he's been in our national consciousness for a very long time, all the way back to when he was just 2 years old and appeared with his dad and Bob Hope on the Mike Douglas television show. In fact, maybe we can roll that clip and remind ourselves.
Father Earl Woods, would you come out? That other ball. Perfect. Good boy, Earl, how old are you, Tiger? Daddy. Two?
Wow, it's interesting to watch that. So we all followed Tiger as he grew up, and he went on to win the U.S. Amateur Championship a record 3 times. He won the NCAA Championship, but he really gained widespread public fame in 1997 when he won his first major PGA championship, the Masters. which had all kinds of cultural significance. Maybe you could talk about that.
Well, the Masters is played at the Augusta National Golf Club in Georgia, and it has this history, that club, as being a bastion of Jim Crow, of not admitting black members until the 1970s, of excluding African Americans from the tournament itself. So Tiger, this young African American, skinny man at that point, 21 years old, winning this tournament had a cultural significance as a first for African Americans winning that tournament. And it was also a shocking victory in the sense that he didn't just win the tournament, he demolished the competition.
Right.
He won by something like 11 strokes and set records for best score ever in the
And
Masters.
he did it with such flair too, with the famous Tiger fist pump. It was hard to take your eyes off him.
Yeah, well, nobody has ever called golf must-see TV to begin with, and I know a lot of people find it, and people will say to me, because I play golf not very well, but will say to me, well, I can see how you might want to get out for a couple hours with your friends outside, outdoors, but what I can't see is why anybody would watch golf on TV. It just seems so boring and unexciting, but Tiger injected this charisma into the game that made a lot of people who are not golf fans interested.
And that famous Masters victory, and that was just the beginning of the legend. In terms of his PGA career, he went on to win 14 major championships at the time that we're speaking today, second only to Jack Nicklaus, who he has always had in his sights. He's won 71 PGA tournaments. Before the scandal erupted, before he had the injuries with his leg and other health problems, how good do you think he was?
I think he was the best. I think he still is the best golfer in history, and I actually think that we're going to see a big. It's hard to predict what will happen exactly, but that we're going to see a big comeback here, and that Tiger is going to be back in the headlines for winning golf tournaments and not for how many mistresses he has.
Yeah. So you see him coming back.
I do indeed. He won a small tournament, invitational tournament last
Chevron?
month, the Chevron,
Yeah.
which had a field of, I think, only 15 or 20 players. But
he
he
won.
looks good, and he's not only had to deal with all the fallout from this big scandal, but also with a series of injuries, especially to his knee. And it looks like he's in better physical shape. He's through the messiness of the divorce.
And as golf fans will remember, the last major he won was that amazing victory at the U.S. Open, where he was playing on a severely injured leg and won anyway in very dramatic fashion.
That was an incredibly dramatic moment. Tiger limping to victory with a broken leg. It was really the in some ways kind of cherry on the sundae of his golf career. This amazing, unforgettable performance.
Yeah. And yet, as good as he was, his fame was not only because of what he did on the course, and this is really what you write about so much in the book, it was also because of his beautiful wife, of his multiracial background and family, of this whole new persona that he brought to the world of golf. I think we may have just shown a cover of an article from New Zealand which also shows his international impact. What made his appeal so unique and so striking to so many people?
Well, there was the drama of this young black man dominating in what's traditionally been thought of as a white sport. So that gave it a kind of extra Tiger's Rise, extra twist of interest and novelty. But a lot of it was just about how good he was, what an extraordinary genius he was with the golf club. And not just good in terms of being able to hit the shots and make the good swings, but this flair that he seems to possess, I think he still possesses it, for the dramatic and for making an astonishing shot at just the crucial time in a tournament. And I think many people tuned in just to watch Tiger and to get a fix.
To see if he could do it again.
To see if he could do it again.
Yeah. And the advertisers were noticing as well. So we had Buick and Nike and Accenture and Gillette and others all showering him with millions of dollars of endorsements. I think maybe we just showed an ad from American Express showing him with his mother. Why did all of these companies want Tiger Woods as the face for their products?
Well, Tiger was, it should be remembered, the first $1 billion man in sports, the first sports figure athlete ever to earn $1 billion. And a lot of that money came from these endorsements. And in a way, Tiger was the perfect pitch man for companies to hire. He had this very clean, all-American seeming family life. He's has legions of adoring fans, very charismatic personality.
Right.
And he was also very corporate friendly in the sense that he was eager to make money and to keep the endorsements coming. So yeah, he endorsed everything from Tag Heuer watches to Gillette razors to American Express. He was a front man, the key sort of successor to Michael Jordan,
Right.
as the key figure in the Nike stable of athletes.
That's right. As a reminder, you're watching Office Hours. We invite your questions for Professor Orin Starn, who's talking about his new book about Tiger Woods. Orin, you've just been talking about the image of Tiger Woods, how that tied into endorsements. But how did he change the image of golf in the process?
Well, he made golf seem sexy, maybe for the first time in the history of a game that most people think of as not very exciting. Yet there was when Tiger took the stage in the late 1990s and then into the 2000s, when he's winning tournaments and Nike's doing all these fancy advertisements featuring him, golf grows because it makes the game it made the game seem more appealing. It made it seem interesting. You had a lot of people taking up golf in those years, and who knows whether there's an exact correlation, but in the last couple of years when Tiger's been more out of the spotlight, TV ratings have plunged for golf tournaments. People don't want to watch tournaments without him. And also the numbers of people have been playing the game has declined some.
So you're saying that all of the events of the last 2 years have affected not only interest in the PGA and in professional golf generally, but also in people playing golf themselves. We did a little research here at Office Hours. One of our Duke interns, Sarah, went out to the Hillendale Golf Course here in Durham, where I believe you play yourself.
I do indeed. I spend too many hours there.
And Sarah spoke to some of the golfers there to ask them about how they view golf in American life. Maybe we can take a second to watch that.
The reason I like to play golf is when you get out on the golf course, you forget all your troubles. You know, you're out on the course, playing against the course, playing with wonderful people for the most part.
A lot of camaraderie, friendship. And it's more about that than it is, say, the PGA Tour or the country club set. It's just having a good time with your friends.
Especially now that I'm retired, people my age, and get together and just go out and see what we can do.
Thank you to Sarah. Let's get back to the PGA Tour. Earlier this week, James Todd, my colleague here at Office Hours, spoke with a Duke graduate who plays on the PGA Tour, Joe Ogilvie. He spoke with Joe by Skype about Tiger Woods and about some of the issues we've been discussing. We want to thank Joe for taking the time to speak with us, and let's take a moment to watch what he had to say.
Tiger failed on a colossal level from a persona standpoint and from a husband standpoint. However, people, especially Americans, love a good comeback. I mean, I think that anybody that you've seen who's failed or has been in a big scandal and have come back and played the game, they've kind of gotten back to that level. Now, Tiger won't get back to that level from an endorser standpoint. But from a fan standpoint, I was surprised at how welcoming the fans have been. I mean, they want Tiger to succeed. I mean, the roars when he won the Chevron World Challenge, they were back to Tiger roars. I mean, people were genuinely upbeat with Tiger winning. So while the traditional makeup of golf's players are probably, you're right, old white males that are Republican, I think that Tiger kind of changed that a little bit. He made it a sport that's sort of cool. And so that's changed. Our fans base have certainly changed since I got on tour. The golf community has kind of taken that and said, okay, how do we broaden it? And I think with what we did with the First Tee program and how we're constantly funding the First Tee program, which is kind of going into high schools and elementary schools and kind of broaden that base to try to get it into, I don't like to use the word underprivileged, but kind of communities where maybe the economic opportunities or the economic success hasn't been as great. We're trying to go into there and kind of teach the life skills that golf teaches. I mean, I think that's one thing I know from just playing golf. I mean, golf teaches you integrity. It teaches you to kind of police yourself. It kind of teaches you the value of being honest with yourself. And I think
That's Joe Ogilvie, a Duke alumnus who is a professional golfer. We thank him again for taking time to speak with us from his home in Austin, Texas. Orin, he's predicting a comeback for Tiger. You earlier did as well, foreseeing maybe good things on the course this year. But let's get back to the broader cultural question. And we have a question that we received from Kathleen in Texas. She asks you, do you expect that Tiger will ever again command the respect and admiration he once had?
Well, I think that there's an almost ritualized, and I say this as an anthropologist, process in the way that we treat celebrities and celebrity scandal in the U.S. And as Joe Ogilvie said, what happens is often people get into trouble. Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, Mel Gibson and his anti-Semitic or misogynistic remarks, and down the line. But that often, as part of this script, there's this public crucifixion of the celebrity or the politician at first, but then there's also an opportunity for redemption and for if the person apologizes and some time passes. Americans are people who love the idea of second chances and the comeback, and
right.
We fancy ourselves as a forgiving people. And in some ways, the story of a Bill Clinton or a Tiger Woods becomes all the more interesting because of their past scandals. It gives an extra layer to the drama of their personal biography and story.
Right. Maybe we can parse that a bit because it's the arc of that scandal that is so much a part of your book. We go from Tiger Woods being this symbol of excellence, of this symbol of a new interracial future, and almost overnight, the adulation, the endorsements give way to public scorn. I think we're seeing a fake Nike poster and then the tabloid press had a field day, the New York Post and others. The scandal also, it was a gift for late night comedians. In fact, I think we have a clip of some of them talking about the scandal.
To make a long story short, if you have a lower back tattoo and you haven't slept with Tiger Woods, you're a loser. You really are.
Today I got myself the new Tiger Woods advent calendar. It is so cool. Every day it reveals a new mistress. It's like, oh.
What's up, Jeff?
What's the difference between Santa Claus and Tiger Woods?
What's that?
Santa Claus quits after 3 holes. But
anyway, that's what he was doing. Now, text messages, we have them now, sent by Tiger Woods. Number 8, are you a cop? Number 7, you're breaking up with me for Lee Trevino?
Now there are new rumors about an alleged nude photo of Tiger, taken by one of his mistresses. I hear that even though you can't see Tiger's face in the pictures, you could tell it's him by how he grips his club.
So that was Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Jay Leno, David Letterman, and of course many, many others. The mainstream media spent a great deal of time with this as well. Why did everyone react so strongly to this scandal? And why did public opinion about Tiger Woods turn so sharply and so dramatically?
Well, I think we're schizophrenic about our celebrities in America. On the one hand, we adore them. We pay to go see their movies. We buy their video games. We're enchanted with them. We want to be like them. But on the other hand, we can turn ferocious when we think that our celebrities have done something wrong. And you see the way that the perception of a person can shift radically overnight. Of a Bill Clinton from sort of great president who seemed to be doing fine to the idea of him as this horrible sex pervert and so forth. So yeah, we're schizophrenic about celebrities. We're eager to turn on them when they do poorly because we admire them, but at another level we're also envious of them. They seem to have everything, and we seem to like the spectacle of the mighty falling.
Right. Now, you spent a fair amount of time on chat boards and online discussion places on the internet, and that's where you heard some of the more virulent comments. What did you see there?
Well, a lot of really ugly stuff. I mean, the Letterman and Leno jokes are pretty raw, but if you go onto the internet, it's taken to a whole new level in terms of just the raw, nasty sexual joking. And what I found in particular that was interesting to me is the way that a lot of the stuff on the internet, on these anonymous postings and so forth, really used this racist language and this image of Tiger as this hypersexualized, the kind of proverbial hypersexualized black man. That image kicks in very powerfully.
Right. And you felt people were freer to say in chat rooms what they were really thinking than they might in more polite company.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you see with chat rooms is that anonymity gives people a kind of freedom to say things that they wouldn't dare to say in public, that they may really be thinking. So in a way, interestingly, chat rooms and message boards are a kind of peephole into what I've called the dark racial id of America, these sets of stereotypes and slurs and views and ideologies. They're still out there, but are much more underground than they used to be 30 or 40 years ago in the old days of Jim Crow and before the Civil Rights Movement.
You're watching Office Hours. Our guest is Professor Orin Starn. He's written a book about Tiger Woods. We welcome your questions for our conversation. You can send us an email at live@duke.edu, tweet with the tag Duke Live, or post to the Duke University Facebook page. We're talking about the arc of this scandal, and of course one of the big moments in this case, as in many similar cases, is the big apology. We're going to take a moment to view a few seconds of that. Maybe you could set the stage of how Tiger Woods came to give this much watched televised apology.
Well, there had been revelations about Tiger's adulterous relationships with various women towards the end of 2008, I guess it was. It's already been that long now. And there was a media feeding frenzy, this speculation and headlines and National Enquirer and all of the rest. And at first, Tiger's PR people, and I think Tiger himself, thought that this would all just blow over. And Tiger himself is a very proud man and wasn't exactly eager to go and apologize to America for his sexual behavior. But I think it became pretty clear to him and probably to his PR people that if he wanted to put the scandal behind him and wanted to get back into the good graces of golf fans and the American public, then he was going to need to make a public apology.
And we're going to watch a few seconds of that. Maybe we can roll that.
The issue involved here was my repeated irresponsible behavior. I was unfaithful. I had affairs. I cheated. What I did is not acceptable, and I am the only person to blame. I stopped living by the core values that I was taught to believe in. I knew my actions were wrong, but I convinced myself that normal rules didn't apply. I never thought about who I was hurting. Instead, I thought only about myself.
Orin, as an anthropologist who observes how societies work, what do you make of that apology?
Well, that moment of the apology seems to me a moment more strange and bizarre than any ritual one could imagine in some far-off primitive society.
And you have personally spent years in Peru and in other parts of the world. Any way you could compare these?
Well, I think what's so strange about it is to begin with, is why is it that we feel that this famous golfer needs to apologize to us about his sex life? I mean, one would think that if you had a bunch of affairs that you would need to talk to your wife and try to make things good or not and work this out as a family matter. Why you would be required, as Tiger really was, to go on national television and apologize to the American public is a very strange thing that takes a lot of explaining. I think one of the interesting things there, if you notice, that clip was from CNN, and all of the major networks and CNN cut away to Tiger's apology as if the president had been assassinated or Iran dropped the nuclear bomb. And again, the question would be, why? Why is this?
And yet, at the time, it just seemed entirely appropriate and what one would expect in that situation.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tiger had hired the press firm run by Ari Fleischer, who was President Bush's former press secretary, and they, I think, had worked on the apology. And I think Tiger genuinely felt remorseful. I actually found the apology quite moving. And
so did I.
It was also quite sad to see such an imperial figure as Tiger reduced to such a pitiable state of having to be publicly humiliate himself.
Right, but as you point out, from an anthropological perspective, that is a scenario that we're familiar with in this country. Let me stop. We've gotten a couple of great questions from Greg in California. He asked the following. Did you feel that the level of negative reaction in the first year after the hydrant crash was higher than you would have suspected? And do you believe that Tiger's race drove a lot of the reaction, or do you think it had more to do with his personality, which one could describe as being very private and short with the media and the public?
Well, I think it's complicated trying to explain exactly why the scandal became such a big thing for the media. And I remember also, it wasn't just the media, but people were talking about the scandal over holiday dinners and towards the end of 2008. And one of the things that went into all of this was that Tiger is a gigantic icon in American society. And I think there's always more interest in scandalous behavior by ultra-famous figures than there is interest in scandalous behavior by B-level stars. And that was part of the interest in Tiger and what had happened.
The title of your book is The Passion of Tiger Woods, which of course can be read as a reference to the crucifixion. And indeed you have a cartoon that you show in your book portraying Tiger Woods on a cross with the media surrounding him. Do you think it's fair to say that he was crucified by the news media?
I certainly do think he was crucified, perhaps not without sin in the sense that he didn't show a lot of respect to his wife and to his family. But there certainly was this public crucifixion of Tiger. And I find this idea of the passion of Tiger Woods interesting at several different levels. I mean, you can think about the passion of Tiger for golf as a first dimension of the passion of Tiger Woods. Then you can also think about passion in terms of Tiger's libido and his interest in all of these affairs.
That's right.
And then a third sense of the passion of Tiger Woods is, yes, exactly this, the way that this drama around his sex life turned into this public crucifixion. And what I would add now, and this is something that Joe Ogilvie said earlier in the clip that we saw, there's a fourth way that you could think of the passion of Tiger Woods, and that's the passion of fans for Tiger Woods, and the tremendous interest that he seems to draw, and the fact that a lot of people now are rooting for him again.
Right, and they're rooting for him today in Abu Dhabi, and his fans are all around the world. We saw a news clipping a few minutes ago from New Zealand, and we've gotten a question from Stuart. Stuart asks you, what did you learn about the globalization of celebrity culture? Are we heading to one big celebrity system? And if you say Kardashian, I'm going to have to stop the interview.
I'm not sure how well the Kardashians are known in Turkey or the Sudan, so we may have a bit to go towards the complete globalization of celebrity gossip mongering.
But do you think Tiger Woods is an emblem of celebrity culture in the modern world?
Well, certainly. A few years ago, I was in both China and Taiwan, and there you'd see billboards with Tiger everywhere. I mean, his mother was Thai, so he's something of a special icon in Asia. But yes, there was global interest in his. Al Jazeera was covering the Tiger Woods scandal as if it was some new Middle East war.
Yeah. I'm sure some of our viewers are watching this and wondering to themselves, now wait a minute, this guy is an anthropologist. In fact, you are the chair of Duke University's Cultural Anthropology Department. Writing about Tiger Woods, as you have in your new book, seems a little out of the ordinary for an anthropologist. What led you to take on this project?
Well, anthropology has changed hugely over the last 100 years or so ago. I mean, most people, when they think of anthropology or anthropologists, think of a figure like Margaret Mead going off to study so-called primitive peoples in Samoa, or others going to the Amazon or the rainforest. But over the last 20 or 30 years, what's happened is that you still have anthropologists working in West Africa or in the Andes of South America, as I have.
Right.
But anthropologists also turning to look at modern life and modern obsessions and to do the anthropology of the United States, of suburban white neighborhoods, of corporate boardrooms. So anthropology has really become, I think, a really exciting field, and it's become the study of anything, anywhere, and that can include Tiger Woods. I'm not sure we need many more. One book maybe by an anthropologist, maybe one too many already about Tiger.
So they should read yours.
They can read mine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I don't think I'm beginning Tiger Woods studies here.
But in watching your own work, which has evolved from more conventional kinds of anthropology writing, you also several years ago wrote a book that had a somewhat more personal feel to it, where you told this wonderful story about your own involvement in discovering the long-lost brain of Ishi, who was the celebrated Native American figure from Northern California. And now you're writing about popular culture, Tiger Woods, professional golf. How do you see your own writing and work as a scholar and cultural observer changing over the years?
Well, there are two kinds of anthropologists. One is the kind that does their dissertation somewhere, let's say, in the Andes, and then stays in that area of writing about that area of the world for their whole career. And we have a lot of anthropologists who do that, and it's a great way to go in anthropology. But then we also have more eclectic, anthropologists who are jumping around from different topics, as I have a bit. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it feels a little dizzying for me to be writing one moment about a legendary Native American in the late 19th century, and then in the next book to be writing about a 21st century golfer. But I really enjoy getting to know different parts of the world and to look at culture and the way the world works from different angles. So I've had fun and working in the Andes in Peru, working on Native Californian issues and writing about Tiger Woods.
Right. Now, you've also been a regular observer and occasional critic of big-time sports at universities. And in fact, just this past Sunday, the New York Times ran a major story about how big-time sports are playing out at universities across the country. You were quoted there as saying, "Big-time sports have become a modern tribal religion for college students." What did you mean by that?
Well, just think about Cameron Indoor Stadium and a Duke basketball game here at Duke. It's a basketball game there is full of rituals, of chants, of face painting, of carrying signs, of songs. There's a high priest of the cult, Coach K. There are team logos and symbols in the same way that so-called primitive tribes have totems and sacred animals. So and you have this feeling in college sport, a very powerful identification with your tribe, with your team. And I think it's really college sports are really an important part of the life of college students nowadays.
And do you as an anthropologist pass judgment on that and say that's a good thing or a bad thing, or do you view it as your role to just observe it and describe it?
Well, our job is really to observe and to try to explain and describe, but inevitably, we see what we want to see to a degree, and we can end up making some things look good and others look bad. But I'm really most interested in sports as a cultural phenomenon and for what they say about America and who we are, and not so much in passing judgment. It's tough for me because I'm a big sports fan. I love sports and watching sports. I love going to Duke basketball games on the few occasions when I can get tickets. But then the anthropologist in me is also interested in why sports seem to matter so much to us in 21st century America.
Right. So I have to ask you now, I should tell our viewers to congratulate you. You just had a baby boy earlier this week. So did you stay up last night to watch the Duke game against Maryland?
Yes, we did. And that was the first television, or the first thing other than taking care of the baby and that we've done for the last few days.
Well, congratulations again on that.
Thank you.
So as we look ahead, what lies ahead for Tiger Woods, both in golf as a player, but for everything you've been talking about as a cultural symbol?
Well, just in terms of one thread in the story, which is the Tiger as an African-American man and the story, the drama of race politics in the United States, I think it's been really interesting the way that Tiger has been re-racialized, if I could use that jargony-sounding word, in different ways through his career. So early on, when he wins the Masters, he's configured in the public imagination as this young African-American racial pioneer, bringing justice and transforming the golf into this more democratic sport. Then, in his heyday, he becomes this sort of post-racial, godlike figure who really seems beyond the messy muck of race. So he goes from young black man to post-racial icon to then with the scandal of a couple years ago, he's re-racialized all over again, now no longer as a post-racial figure, but instead as an archetypal sexual black man of stereotype and slur and legend. And one wonders now if he goes on and wins a couple of big tournaments, a couple of major tournaments this year, whether he'll be re-racialized all over again, and this time as the post-racial icon once again.
And finally, all of us have lived through this scandal, have been watching what has happened since then. What have we learned as a society, and what do you see this changing in how America reacts to these kinds of situations in the future?
I think that the celebrity scandal machine and the interests of Americans and in the doing of celebrities isn't likely to go away anytime soon. I mean, in some ways it would be a good thing if it would, because really, why is so much attention paid to the doings of the rich and famous? Yet the ritual of the celebrity scandal has really become part of the landscape of American life right now, and I think there will be new Tiger Woodses and new, what celebrity will be exposed for doing what kinky sexual thing tomorrow. Who knows, but there'll be somebody.
We don't get to hear kinky sexual thing on Office Hours every week. So thank you for a fascinating conversation. The Passion of Tiger Woods, it is a marvelous read. It's for anyone who's interested in sports or in American society. Orin Starn, Professor of Cultural Anthropology here at Duke, thank you so much for joining us on Office Hours. A recording of this program, along with many other videos, is going to be available on Duke On Demand. That's ondemand.duke.edu. Thanks for watching.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.